Thank you guys very much. I appreciate this opportunity. I'm probably the shortest guy at this mic, and so I got to make sure I get it in line, but I can blow it up with some pretty loud noise, so give me a sign if I get too loud, all right? I really do appreciate what you guys are doing on a Friday night. I walked in from that weather and thought, wow, nobody's going to be here. They're all going to be out cooking on their green egg or something, so it's really beautiful outside, and people could choose to do something other than being here tonight, and you chose to be here. And I would say you traded up, and you traded up significantly, and I want to thank you for that. It's not just from Stability First, but it's for me too. I work in this area, and I work in this space, and it's incredibly encouraging when you look around and you see people coming together in a community and saying, I want to help, I want to be part of that. And it energizes you, it gets you going, it gets you saying, man, I want to do more. If this is what it's like and the people care this much, well, then I got more to give. And so I want to thank you guys for being here to help energize me too. So this is really good. When I was about 2 years old, my father dropped my mom and I and my brothers and sisters off at our grandmother's house in League City, Texas, just a little bit south of Houston. He never came back. I've never seen him since. He's never come back into our family. My mom was left with 4 children under the age of 5. We had just returned from an American Air Force base in Bitburg, Germany. So my mom didn't have a job. She didn't have any money. She didn't have any insurance. She didn't have anything. She was left to figure out how to feed, clothe, and care for a family of 5 all on her own. In 1962, there weren't many social programs that took care of single moms like that. When I met Judy and the people at Stability First, it went from head to heart quick because I realized I was one of those people. I grew up in that space. I had a front row seat to a broken home. I watched a mom struggle to feed 4 kids. I watched her struggle to work 7 days a week. I didn't see my mom so much because she worked all the time. And at one point, she had to leave us with my grandma for 3 years because she found a job in Illinois where she could get insurance. I'm going to tell you, that was hard. And the scars from that growing up, the emotional pain of that was rough, you guys. It was lonely. It was fearful. There was a lot of anxiety. It was tough. And I'll tell you what, we're still struggling with that. It doesn't go away. My family still has the scars of that time. We still struggle. We all still have problems, and we still fight to try to find wholeness. It just doesn't go away quickly. The sad part about this is what happened to my mom is becoming the norm in America now. What's happening to my mom is common in the United States. American families are being decimated at alarming rates. A broken home occurs when one or both of the parents are not there, or they're just not physically or emotionally present. Only 46% of American families operate with the biological parents together raising their children. And that's compared to 76% only 50 years ago. Can you imagine that? And when you dig into the inner cities of our nation right now, that number in the black community drops to 17%. Just wrap your mind around that. 17% of those families growing up with a mother and a father working together to raise their kids. That's hard to believe, isn't it? And sadly, when you look at this, 50 years ago, the number of children raised by single-parent moms was only 6%. That number is up to 25%. 25% of the kids in this country are being raised by a single parent. That is a big number. And all the statistics are not good. My mom worked at it. She worked hard. There are single parents that can handle this, but most don't. The statistics are not good. Most of the kids coming out of those single homes have much lower educations and have much lower incomes, and they suffer a lot. The statistics spell it out really clearly, you guys. This is not what we want for America. And there's another side to America that we see. While there's people that have to work and they have to send both parents into the workplace, those families, there's other families that don't have to do that, but they choose to. They choose to chase something called the American dream, and it's wealth. And it shows up in a pursuit for cars and homes and vacations and pools and boats and electronics. And they mortgage the emotional health of their families, primarily on debt, sending both parents back into the workplace. And who suffers from that? The kids do. There's a brokenness in those families. And while there are numerous causes of broken families, from consequences of fractured homes, what comes out of that is emotionally unstable children. Teenagers from divorced parents are 300% more likely to need psychological help than those from intact homes. 86% of the 5 million children abused in America are victimized from inside their home. Can you get that number? Does that just break your heart? 5 million kids, 5 million children are being abused in their own home. This is heartbreaking stuff, you guys. And those emotionally unstable children, you know where they end up? They typically end up on the street or in jail. That's where they end up. At our company, we see the bottom one-third of the economic pyramid. A high percentage of these men and women come from broken homes, which means the vast majority have been in jail or in prison and have drug abuse and alcohol problems. And when they come to us, we find them lonely, isolated, depressed, and lacking many of the necessary emotional and communication skills required to function in a normal work environment. We see turnover rates for these people anywhere on average from 48 to 80%, and that's the average. We can see turnover rates as high as 120% in this group. They quit or get fired often within the first day when they start working. To make it a week is unheard of. But in the midst of this, it's a dark picture. And many people say, boy, Bill, that's not true. That's not the America I live in. That is the America you live in. That is the truth. These numbers are real, you guys, and they're update. This is not a good America when it comes to the brokenness that's going on. But in the midst of that, there's some hope. There's some good, and you guys are part of that. This is what we're talking about tonight. In the midst of this, we see this workplace opportunity where people like we do in our company, we intercept these dear people and help them overcome their past. Well, we've had some impact at PacMoore with our staff and our chaplains. Our greatest success has come from receiving men and women from programs just like this, Stability First, where they've had time to help the young women work through the traumas of their past. They've had time to develop some emotional and communication tools for the workplace, enough to even keep a job for a year. You know, a day you'd think would be crazy. We get to keep it for a year when they come out of these programs. The partnerships of these types of programs is absolutely critical to keeping people from broken families staying employed. And employment is a vital part of their healing. We believe compassionate employment can be a key part of their journey to building a healthy life and a healthy family. In his book, Everybody Matters, Bob Chapman makes a compelling argument that the employment environment of modern companies is one of the leading causes of the breakdown of the American family. He believes people are treated so badly at work that they come home feeling isolated, depressed, devalued, and oftentimes extremely angry. Chapman's thesis is if we help people feel valued, loved, respected, and connected at work, they'll go home much more capable of having a healthy marriage and a healthy family. Chapman believes, he actually believes this, he lives this, the workplace can become the epicenter for the revival of the American family. Bob has built a $2 billion company by buying over 70 underperforming companies one at a time and building them back up into profitable business simply by focusing on the culture where they create a place where people feel loved and everybody matters. His companies have thousands of stories. People who have been transformed through a culture of care, respect, education, and celebration. I lead a company called PacMoore. We have 400 employees. We have 3 manufacturing sites. We run 24 hours a day. We manufacture food ingredients. We've been pursuing the same objective at our 3 manufacturing sites. At our plant here in Morgan County, we work with Stability First, the Indiana Dream Team, the Work Release Programs, and several other organizations that help hire people from nonviolent criminal backgrounds. And while we have hired well over 300 employees with criminal backgrounds, we've got about 50 that have come from what I would call these pre-employment jail-to-work transition programs. The retention rates of those employees is dramatically higher than the retention rates of people coming out of other jail-type programs. In fact, many of these employees go on to become higher-level people. In the last few years, we've promoted 5 people from that 50 that are in management roles, customer service roles, and strong leadership roles. It's amazing to watch. And these folks, they're good people. And yeah, they've come out of rough times. And yeah, they've probably done some things wrong that got them in prison. But they change, guys. They change. And when they come work for you and you see who they are, you fall in love with them. They're good people. They got good hearts. They're somebody's son and daughter, you know? And they just needed another chance. And man, when you get time to work with them, you find out they're pretty doggone good employees. They're fun to be around. They work hard. And they integrate beautifully into what I call our extended PacMoore family. You know, there's a great gal here tonight. She works for us. She's sitting right over there, and she's in a really pretty red dress. Her name's Ashley. When I first met Ashley, she had just been released from prison. It's just so hard to believe. Ashley, you're such a sweet soul. She was in residence at the Stability First Magdalene House. And while she was there, she studied and received her GED, high school diploma. She started at PacMoore in a packaging line. This is hard work, you guys. The packaging line, lifting 50-pound bags, working her tail off. I mean, this is tough work. And she's been there a year now. She's been promoted to one of our most technical lines. It takes a highly intelligent person to get on that line and work it, and that girl is smart. And she's doing a great job. And you talk to all her coworkers, they love her. We love her to death. Why? Because she's reliable. She comes to work. She's happy. She gets along well with people. She's smart. She works really hard. We love having her there. She's doing a great job for PacMoore. You're going to learn more about Ashley in a short video presentation as soon as I get done talking, which is going to be very soon. I could tell you so many stories of people at PacMoore. We have a lot of stories of people whose lives have changed. But I really want to focus your eyes back on this concept of connecting Stability First with PacMoore. What's that look like? Transition programs like Stability First make a serious difference in the ability of people coming out of a difficult past to function in a healthy and sustainable manner in the workplace. While PacMoore works very hard to be part of the transformative experience, we just don't have the time, the money, or the trained staff necessary to fully develop these dear people. You know, I think about when I was growing up and how long it took to turn me into somebody that was pretty badly broken. And I look how hard I've worked to change, and it's taken a long time, you guys. A lot of years and a lot of people working on me. So you got to know when somebody's had a bad past, it takes time. It takes a lot of time. You don't just put them in a program that the government sponsors and out pops a perfect person. That's not what happens. It takes time and loving people to spend them to help them work through a lot of difficult stuff. Stability First helps people move out of crisis and into a safe, well-managed environment. They provide the time and deploy the trained staff needed to help women become functional moms and employees. Stability First also connects these precious women to the marketplace. Over the last several years, just in the last several years alone, they've put 72 women into full-time employment. You just think about that. In Morgan County, that's a big deal, you guys. That's a big deal. Finding jobs helps these young ladies reunite and rebuild their families. And having a job helps them get out of drugs and get away from alcohol, and it keeps them from going back into prison. It provides a deep sense of value to the individual's soul. And when they're working with a well-run company, a good company that loves people, they find a family environment where people feel connected to the community and they feel loved and respected. As I close, let me tell you the story of how this culture of helping started at PacMoore. In 2008, I was studying the Bible, and I ran across an obscure passage that said, "Do not harvest your fields to the edges, but leave the excess for the poor and the aliens that pass through your lands." And I got to say, I didn't know what to do with that passage. I spent probably an hour sitting there staring at it and thinking, this is kind of weird. I don't know why I'm reading this. It's in Leviticus, one of the hardest books to read and make any sense out of. But I prayed, and I just felt God pressing on me, and I prayed, and I stayed with it. And before long, I felt something in my soul, and it was the weight of God's hand on me, pressing on me. I couldn't hear a voice. I don't hear God in my head, but I can hear him speaking in my soul. And I could feel that pressure in my chest, and I got this sense of, Bill, you've been harvesting your fields to the edges. You know all that profit you make? You spend a lot on yourself. And there's a lot of people that work for you that need more. And I'll tell you, the weight of that conviction was heavy. It hurt. I felt it. And so what I did is I went out and I hired chaplains. And I hired chaplains to get into the persona of PacMoore and to come back and tell me, look me in the eye and say, here's who your people are, here's who their hearts are, and this is what they need from you. And that was incredibly convicting. And so since then, we've got 7 what we call life coaches working among our people in all our different locations. And we work hard to create a culture where we can understand the needs of those people. And we don't have set programs to handle needs. What we do is we hear about them, and then we go deal with them one at a time, because every need is unique. Every need is unique. And so we've created a culture where when you hear a need, fix the need, solve the need, attack the problem wherever you can, whatever way you can. You know, and the coolest thing about that is when you start working and helping people, and they start helping each other, something magical happens, because then they don't look at the company and say, PacMoore needs to do something. They look at each other and say, I'll do something. I can help you. When I was down, they helped me, and now I'm up and I'll help you. And that culture is very transformative. It's very transformative. And it's really fun to be in a place where people start to help each other, and you see people change. You watch them change. It's exciting to be a part of that. But let me not miss this point. Please hear this. If you don't hear anything tonight, hear this. Change doesn't happen because of a program or a company. It doesn't happen because of money. It doesn't happen because of the government. Change happens because the man called Jesus Christ gets into the heart of a man like me, and he gets into the depths of your soul, and he tells you what he wants you to do, and he draws you to him, and he fixes you 1 minute at a time, one broken wound at a time. He solves the problems of your soul, and he transforms your heart. And then he fills you with his Spirit, and he puts you back into the community and says, now you go help, because I've empowered you. I've given you all you need. Go help. Go be my ambassador. And that's the power of the change. That's the change you see at PacMoore as well. The Holy Spirit runs free. He's welcome there at all our plants. And that's who changes things. We just help facilitate. We're just his ambassadors. Stability First is built around that same love, that same ignition of the heart by God. Stability First provides the critical landing point for women suffering from immense family trauma. They find support, care, training, and opportunities to get back into this community because of these precious people at Stability First. In fact, in the last year, they have helped 21 women complete the requisites for obtaining custody of their children. Waylon James, the local office director of the Morgan County Department of Children's Services, told us that in Morgan County, this will break your heart, there's 170 kids living in foster care in Morgan County alone. The majority of these kids have been removed from their homes due to neglect resulting from substance abuse by their parents. Stability First is the vital next step in helping these precious women of Morgan County find a future and a beautiful hope. And for many, it's a critical link back to their children. And I can tell you, when you get reunited with your mom, something good happens. Something good happens. And it's what should happen. And what Stability First is doing is breaking a cycle that has to stop. You can't have a mom on drugs creating kids on drugs that create kids on drugs that create kids on drugs. That's got to stop. And Stability First stands in that gap and says, we're going to break the cycle. It's going to end with us. PacMoore will always bring a strong support of this program and the women that they help. And I pray that you'll join us as you have tonight. But do more. You can do more. It's not just about money. It really isn't. Jump into this effort to help create healthy families in Morgan County. You guys know. You know. We don't need the TV to tell us. We don't have to listen to these news channels to know what the problem is. We know what the problem is, and we know what the fix is. The American culture is crumbling before our eyes because the American family is falling apart before our eyes. And we have an opportunity to stop that. And that's what we do in Morgan County. We can put a stake in the sand and say, not in Indiana, not here. We're going to fix our families. We're going to draw our families back to God. We're going to introduce them to Jesus Christ. We're going to build healthy, whole marriages where the children and the parents love each other and they love their community and they build strong relationships and strong communities. And that's what we do, and that's what Stability First is all about. May God bless every one of you for being here tonight, and may God bless Stability First. Thank you very much.